Hello everyone, Mr. Stevens here again with the last lesson in our algebra unit, all about factorizing algebraic expressions. So the important things for us in this lesson are recognizing highest common factors, and then once we know the highest common factor, we're going to write an expression in its fully factorized form. There is a typo there. Let's just have a look at some things that we should already be familiar with. Expanding brackets. When we ski jump and multiply the thing out the front by the two things inside, x squared times 1 is just x squared, and then x squared times x is x cubed. Now, I want you to think about these two terms. X squared means x times x, and x cubed means x times x times x. What part of these two terms is common, and by that I mean what is the same in both? We've got an x times x here, and then part of this expression is also an x times x. The common element is x squared. So I want you to kind of join these two things together. Here we had x squared out the front, and we expanded the brackets to get x squared plus x cubed, but we've realized that this x squared is the thing that's common between our x squared and our x cubed, and we can do something with that. We can use that piece of information to go from here back to here, and that's what we're going to be doing in this lesson. Another thing I want you to just quickly remember is this example from the expanding lesson, where we recognized that 2x plus 2 is the same as 2 times x plus 1. Now, in that lesson, we were starting from this side and expanding the brackets to go to this side. What we're going to be doing in this lesson is actually going the other way. We're going to start from this side of the expression, and we're going to go to this side. And the key thing we need to be able to do that is find the highest common factor, find what is common between our two terms. Now I'm going to do this first one, and then I'll get you guys to have a go at the second one. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to look at the numbers. What is a common factor, a number that we can divide 6 and 8 by evenly? The only one I can think of is 2. So the first part of the common factor is going to be 2. But then what we have to look at, is there any letters that exist on both sides? And we find that yes, there is. There's an A on both sides. So the highest common factor is going to be 2A. Okay, we deal with the numbers first. What can we divide both 6 and 8 by? We decided it was 2. And then we look at the letters to see if any are the same. Have a go at doing that same process here now with 3x squared and 6xy. Pause the video, have a go at it. When you unpause the video, I'll show you the solution. Okay, so the number that we can divide both 3 and 6 by is 3. Now we have an x squared, which remember is x times x on this side, and we have an xy on the other side. So that means one of these x's is common on both sides of the equation, on both terms, sorry. So our highest common factor is going to include an x. All right, let's have a look at how we actually use the highest common factor. I'm going to do the first two because they're fairly simple to give you an idea, and then I'll get you guys to do 3 and 4 by yourselves. Now, the highest common factor of these two terms, what's the number that we can divide 2x and 2 by? Well, it's 2. Is there any letters the same on both terms? No, only one of them has an x. So this is our highest common factor, 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to write down our 2 and then start some brackets. Now we're going to take the first term and divide it by 2. Let's just do it up here. 2x divided by 2. The 2's cancel out and all we're left with is the x. And then let's take the highest common factor 2 and divide it by the 2. 2 divided by 2, well, that's just 1. So then we write down plus 1. Does that make sense? We look at our 2 terms, 2a and a, and we think about the highest common factor. Well, there's a 2 on one and there's a 1 on the other, so the highest common factor is going to be 1. And then there's an a the same on both sides, so our highest common factor is going to include an a. But because the number was a 1, it's really just a. The highest common factor is a. So we write that down, we start some brackets. Now we do our first term, 2a, divided by a. The a's cancel out, and we're just left with a 2. And then we do our second term, a divided by a. Well, that's just 1. And what we can do to make sure that we've done our factorization correctly is that we can check it with ski jumps. If we do our ski jumps, a times 2 is 2a, a times 1 is a. We want to end back up at what we started with. So when you do 3 and 4 now, I'm going to get you to expand at the end to make sure you've got the right answer. Pause the video, have a go at these 2, and I'll share the solutions when we get back. Okay, so for this one, the highest common factor is 4b. We can divide 4 by 4, we can divide 8 by 4, and there's 1b on both sides. So 4b divided by b, if we divide this term by 4b, we just get 1. And then if we divide this term by 4b, a divided by 4 is 2, and b squared divided by b is just b. This squared cancels out with the b on the bottom. And then you can check by expanding. 4b times 1 is 4b. 4b times 2b is 8b squared. We're happy because that's what we started with. Now this one's a bit trickier again. We can divide 12 by 4 and we can divide 16 by 4. Is there a bigger number we can use? I don't think so. I think it's 4. And then we have x times y on the first term, and we have x times y on the second term. So xy is actually going to be our common factor. So if we divide this by 4xy, 4 goes into that 3 times, goes into that once. The x squared will cancel out with the x on the bottom, and both the y's will cancel out, and we're left with 3x. Now if we divide this one by 4xy, 4 goes into 16 4 times. The x cancels out, and the y squared cancels out with the y, so we're left with 4y on top. And again, if we check by expanding, 4 times 3 is 12, x times x is x squared, y. 4 times 4 is 16, x times, no other x on that, y times y is y squared. And that's what we started with, so we're happy there. Okay, just the same way in our expanding lesson that we had to be really careful with negative numbers, we also have to be really careful with negative numbers when we're factorizing. So I want you guys to have a go at factorizing this expression, and I'm going to give you the hint that your highest common factor is going to be a negative number. Pause the video, have a go at it, and when you come back, I'll show you the solution. So the highest common factor that we can fit into 8 and 12 is 4. And then we have an x squared on one side and an x on the other side. So our highest common factor is going to include 1x. Now, if we divide negative 8x by negative 8x squared by negative 4x, the negatives are going to cancel out. 4 goes into that twice, it goes into that once, and the x squared will cancel out with the x on the bottom. So we're left with 2x. Now, if we divide this by minus 4x, again, the negatives will cancel out. 4 goes into this 3 times, goes into this once, and the x's cancel out. Now remember, because our negatives cancelled each other out, we have a positive here. And if you want to check that one by expanding, you can. Okay, so we should be pretty good at recognizing a common factor, and you guys are going to do some practice now, and hopefully by the end of that, you'll be comfortable with writing the expressions fully factorized. This is your work to do, exercise 9E. Most of our work for this unit has come from chapter 3. This one is from chapter 9. Make sure you're on the right textbook chapter. But yeah, go ahead and get started, guys.